dramatic moment. This singularity sub makes me depressed. Every time I read stuff about AI, it gives me the feeling that nothing I do, hobbies, studies, anything matters. AI is just going to swoop in and do it all 10 times better in a few years. Hard to be motivated to do anything. So I want to encourage everybody to reflect that this sub and AI in general makes them happier or more depressed. This is the actual link, and you can go there. It's still going on, of course. It began yesterday, but there were a lot of replies. They're still going on. I kind of feel my job in life is to counter this idea. That's why I've been giving talks about AI optimism and that sort of thing. So I wrote a poem kind of reacting to this. This is about, say, a person who read that and who is either just starting medical school or thinking about applying or something, and sees the kind of fork in the road when they read this, because maybe it doesn't make sense to do anything anymore and so on, right? This is the best time to start a medical career, when we're close to curing most diseases, eliminating fear, when most patients with life-threatening illness will survive and thrive, when we have the upper hand and to beat all diseases can connive. In the past, we could benefit only a portion of the patients we see. In the future, we'll be able to help most quickly and completely. Where in the past many diseases were deep mysteries, now we will know what we are doing and succeed almost always. Have a surplus of organs we can provide to the whole world. Imagine nephrology and transplantation expanding 20-fold in patient staff, resources, and activity. A situation ideal for you and me. Myriad options within medical specialties continue to expand. Doctors with entrepreneurial skills are now much in demand. Every major advance in medicine opens new career paths galore. It can be deeply satisfying to have a medical job that no one has ever had before. All in all, this is an exciting time to be alive. No better time to start a medical career than 2025. So I don't know what all of you feel, and if you feel more aligned with the person who wrote this than the person who wrote this, but I think these are very fast-moving times, right? That's one thing that we can be sure of. And so we need to make assumptions, like when we get up in the morning, prepare to do whatever we're going to do, have to make assumptions. The school will still be there, Canada will still be there, all those things, right? Big assumptions, little assumptions, local assumptions, worldwide assumptions. But it's better to make positive assumptions and to assume that the things we know that we're kind of heading toward, that we will get there soon. And in medicine in particular, that's not been the case in the past. Like in every era, there's medicine of those times. And then when you look like 50 or 100 years later, it looks ridiculous that those people practice medicine like that, right? How could they have done that? But then you can imagine that 50 or 100 years from now, people will feel the same way about us, So, but eventually, we're going to optimize things and so reach a sort of point where we figured most things out. We'll have a solved world, like Nick Bostrom talks about in his book Deep Utopia. life and meaning in a solved world, right? And if you think about that, initially it sounds exciting and fun, but then you really don't know what you're going to do in a solved world. What will your daily activities be if all the big questions have been answered, if we know how to do everything, we have everything valuable at the price of most valuable things, come down to approximately zero, and you can have virtual experiences as good as real ones. You can share them with friends. So anything you want to do, anything you want to be, you can do or be. It's completely opposite from your world today, where you wake up thinking that things I want, I'm never going to have, things I want to do, I'm never going to be able to do. Yeah, be exactly the opposite. So right now you're in a scarcity world, and you will be in a post-scarcity world of abundance. That's what we're predicting. I also thought it's kind of fun to think about these predictions that you probably have noticed, but it probably doesn't make any sense to you. But this is really what people are predicting, that although text for all of human history has been the predominant communication once we started writing, right, that video will eclipse text by the end of the decade. And so when you want to communicate, you'll be using like audio, video, because text is way too slow, and particularly if we can do brain-to-brain communications, then that is also going to be much faster than text. And having to slow down and put words on everything just won't make sense anymore. So anyway, this is about that kind of world. Now suppose you're a person with a lot of videos and not a great deal of text published work, right? Then this could be you, that you suddenly find toward the end of the decade, you're winning all sorts of awards for your past videos, right? People have gone back and discovered these great videos that you have, and they now value video above text, right? So retroactivity and video proclivity, they say video will eclipse text communication by the end of the decade. You may find yourself being praised retroactively for some old video you did. All the details of YouTube analytics can be deployed to support your glorious video award. Audience retention, watch time, and subscriber numbers prove your worthiness for great reward. You can imagine earning Woofy points for the high esteem with which your videos are appreciated, much like Cory Doctorow's 2003 Down and Out of the Magic Kingdom, with which his career was initiated. Very soon it will be possible to measure the social and science impact of your videos and which ones led directly to high-impact positive events and scenarios. Even important audio alone may lead to lavish praise and jealous looks. Fun when some wise statement of yours becomes one for the history books, as famous as Charles Dickens' opening lines in Tale of Two Cities: it was the best of times, it was the worst of times, it was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness, it was the epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity, it was the season of light, it was the season of darkness, it was the spring of hope, it was the winter of despair. We had everything before us, we had nothing before us, we were all going direct to heaven, we're all going direct the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received for good or for evil in the superlative degree of comparison only. Now I look to you to do better than that. Can't you produce text better than that, and make audio better than that, and video better than that? The times we live in may give you that chance at bat. Now, you may have noticed that the medical student Haba Mahal, who does a lot of work with me, and she is, among other things, the captain of her baseball team. So she would get this baseball metaphor here at the bottom. Okay, so any thoughts now? Are you now even more depressed than you were when you read the Reddit post, or uplifted? Yes.
I have to like not disagree with that idea, but just like kind of have like a counter argument that, like, for example, when you're writing like a research paper, right, you can like go back and you can learn something more, you can edit it, you can keep going back. But when you make a video, although you can edit the video, you can like change parts around, there's still like a kind of continuous flow that you have to be talking in. And it's kind of like, you don't have to be doing it in one take, but let's say you're making a live video, right? Everything you say is kind of taken as you say it. Whereas if you're writing like a paper, you can edit it. So why wouldn't text still be like superior in like...
The same reason that many of you, when you were growing up, you couldn't understand why big people want you to send email when your whole life was fulfilled by text. Text is faster, more, immediate, and so on. Why would you ever write full sentences and paragraphs and have to worry about spelling and all that stuff? When you can just send individual words by text. So that's the idea, that video is more immediate. You can do it right away.
Maybe I'm biased because I'm in this course, but I think after going through all the lectures with all the guest speakers, I feel a more optimistic view towards it, as we were talking about, like, seeing AI as more of a tool and a companion rather than opposition or someone to go against what you're doing. In relation to like what we're talking about with video eclipsing text, I think it's happening, it has been happening. Like, people aren't necessarily journaling anymore. People could be going to like daily vlogs. Like, I know I just open my MacBook and I click my little video app and I'm like, I'm gonna talk to myself for a bit rather than writing things down, because it's faster and it's easier. And I do agree, like, when you use text, you can go back, you can edit it, but you can also just like make another video and edit that in there.
Yeah, and you can use your video as source material for AI and say, make a video just like this, but and tell them what to add or what to modify, and then they'll do it. Make a much better video right on the spot, yes.
So like, similar to like what you're saying, kind of goes back to my point that I want to ask, like, what's your opinion on this? So let's say you make a video about like, oh, this happened my day, boom, boom, this is this. But now let's say you have it on text, right? You can see it, you can skip around, like just with your eyes, you can just like skip over a part that you don't need to read. Whereas a video, you would have to like skip through the video to find that point, no?
No, what I found early on, more than 10 years ago, I discovered to put an actual like index of the video in the YouTube description is a killer, because nobody will ever watch your video. If it describes everything in the video, then it will take them a few seconds to read it, and the video is longer than that, and they quickly make the calculation, I'm never going to watch any more of these guys' videos, I'm just going to read the YouTube description. So that's why what I do is, the audience retention peaks, I go back to them, the parts where people watching the video have returned to watch it again, right? Just make a list of the words, the audience retention peaks and the sequence of them, and it's mysterious enough that people will still have to watch the video, but they know where the high points are. So if they just want to watch the high points, they can go into the highest audience retention peak where people have gone back again and again. Yeah, so I do think also that you can imagine one of the things that's happening in our world, your world now, is things are changing you never thought could be changed, right? And one of those things is going to be academic credit in the school, right? What you get credit for. Right now you get a lot of credit for published papers, but virtually nothing for video or audio. And even like some of you know that I'm doing an album, poetry and musical album that's sort of finished. So there's no provision for that as an expected output. You know, what are you doing making an album? You're supposed to publish papers, what's wrong with you? So eventually that will turn around and people will realize there's value in these other types of, you know, communication, and the text is a little bit dry and boring and so on. Yeah.
I was actually going to ask about that because mostly in science, you see, like, for example, the big journals like Nature, Communications, or Nature of Science and Protein Science, most of the papers are published through text. Like, it's all text for like huge like experiments or whatever it may be. Do you ever see a point, because you're saying that you saw videos surpassing text by the end of the decade? Do you ever see that happening for science?
So if you look at what medical journals are doing, some of them do have videos now, but they follow very strict rules, and they're kind of part of the paper that promotes the paper, because they realize some people will watch videos where they might not read things. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that science in the United States is under attack, right? Johns Hopkins, one of the biggest research institutions and a place where I spent many years, they fired 2,000 people last week. So, I mean, it is really dramatic. And many other, the best known institutions, Harvard, Yale, you know, so on, are the ones most affected by this. So your thoughts about what is the most stable, productive kind of science career are going to be changed by what's happened in 2025. We don't quite know where it's going. But for instance, if you're a researcher and you have an account where you charge research things to that account, almost certainly this week that account has been frozen by the institution, because the institution is very afraid about what's going to happen. So it doesn't want you to use any of the money in that account because, you know, they don't know quite what the future holds. Yeah, so you may have a large amount of money from a large amount of grants, but right now it would all be frozen and not accessible to you.
Well, why is Johns Hopkins and why are they firing people?
Because the support from the NIH is interrupted and interfered with in many ways. It also has to do with equity, diversity, and inclusion, and gender studies, and yeah, all those things. If you have any of those words in your grant, then
Oh.
yeah.
I heard about the gay one,
Yeah.
where someone's name was like something.
Yes,
gay.
their name was gay. Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah. That's right. So, I just wanted to leave you with the optimistic feeling that I have, and that I'm trying to keep conveying. And am I 100% that I'm right about everything? No, but I think no one in 2025 can be absolutely certain that they're right about their thoughts about planning for the future. Okay, so now, let's see here. Okay, does this look familiar to one of you? So, Rayanne,
Yes.
isn't? That's you, okay. All right, you wanna come up and
Sure.
give it? Yeah. So you, what?
I was gonna full screen if that's slideshow. Like put on slideshow.
Yeah, sure, you can. Do that? Yeah.
Okay. So this is my ethics presentation. I wasn't unfortunately able to come to class that one day. So even though it was online, I was able to make it. So I'm going to present that. So my topic is AI-based digital resurrection, which although it might seem like kind of sci-fi, but it's actually becoming very realistic within the next few years. So what's the main idea? The main idea is to resurrect medical experts, whether they be from the past or present doctors, and essentially make their knowledge immortal. Why would this be done? Some medical experts, they have very unique talent in a certain field, or they may have experience of years and years, which just gets lost as soon as they retire. And this would be done by taking lectures, videos, or any interviews, and even more content if the doctor is able to give consent for that. And like I mentioned before, this prevents invaluable knowledge and experience from getting permanently lost. This would exist first as chatbots, which have already existed like ChatGPT and such. Eventually would move on to digital avatars, and in the future, possibly holograms, even robots who completely simulate the person. Throughout this presentation, I'm going to be referring to this resurrected doctor, you can say, as an avatar. So this creates two main relationships. The first is between patients and their care provider. This would improve emergency wait times as there would be many more doctors who are available to provide help. And this would also allow the top of the line doctors to be able to internationally help patients as they're not restricted to being physically present in a certain location. This could also provide constant medical support one-on-one with the patient. As well, this would completely change how medical education is taught, as the top of the line doctors can now teach in multiple institutions around the world, and as well, historical doctors who are not alive anymore, they can teach a class in a more interactive way rather than just learning from slides. So principles to informed design. The first one is definitely consent. Is that does a doctor have the ability to decide if they want to immortalize their knowledge or not? And this also brings up a counterpoint. What if the doctor doesn't want that to happen as they're afraid their reputation might get damaged or anything, but they have very invaluable experience? Then who gets to decide if their knowledge is taken? How about doctors who have already passed away? Doctors who passed away in the 1900s, can the information be taken into avatars or not? The second thing is transparency between patients. Do patients have the choice whether or not they want to deal with an avatar or they want to deal with an actual doctor? And in some situations, do they even know if their diagnosis is based on an actual doctor or just an AI? As well, dignity and respect. This is a very important aspect that when very top-line doctors pass away, they may leave a legacy behind. However, if an AI takes their legacy, they may say something that the doctor may not have said. And this can misrepresent the ideas of a certain doctor. As well, this creates another hierarchy. In a hospital, there's a real doctor and a doctor who may have been famous for a certain aspect. They may be more experienced than this real doctor, let's say at University of Alberta. However, one person is a real live person versus an AI, so who gets to make the final decision? The unintended and intended consequences. So this would improve medical education access around the world. This could increase long-term personal patient access. This would preserve knowledge and experience, and a doctor could have multiple presences around the world. However, unintended things. AI may make an error, which may completely ruin the reputation of a doctor. As well, this creates a legal factor. If an AI makes a mistake, then is the doctor who the AI is representing responsible, or is the company which runs the AI responsible? This may also form an emotional connection as the avatars become more and more real. A patient may create an emotional connection which isn't real at all. And another thing I mentioned before is disputes between doctors and AIs, who gets the final authority. And as well, this avatar may have a perspective on things that are outside medicine. For example, it may have a political stance. Is it allowed to express this, or is it only restricted to talk about medical aspects? Qualities and values that this technology intends to push. First is general patient innovation. Pushes the boundaries of personalized healthcare that's never been done before. Preservation of knowledge. Every year, doctors pass away, doctors retire, And that's so much knowledge, so much time, so much resources just going honestly to waste. This way it can be preserved and continue to help the medicine field forever. As well, this creates accessibility to doctors, accessibility to patients who may be in third world countries where they cannot travel to meet a certain doctor in a specific place, or even conflict zones where a doctor may not be able to come physically. And as well as education, allows people to learn from experts they would never get a chance to meet. Relationships and narratives this creates a student and teacher relationship with the avatar, which can create ongoing mentorship and ongoing advice during their studies, and as well a very personalized experience, like it could be a one teacher to a one student ratio rather than one teacher who teaches many students. This may create a problem, as a family member may want to interact with that doctor just because they've lost that family member, right? There's a Black Mirror episode about this that I just wanted to reference, and it kind of explores the ideas that when someone passes away, you may want to, even like an AI that represents them, you may create an emotional connection with them, and that can create a lot of problems. A narrative that this might enforce, so a doctor or an AI might say something. For example, a person might say that this doctor told me such and such. However, in real life, when this doctor was alive, they may have never said this statement. So it creates a false narrative about this doctor's legacy. And as well, institutions may create another narrative that if you want to meet this doctor who's passed away, you can only come to here. They may not make it public. They can gatekeep this and use it to make a profit. Similar technology that already exists. So there's a company called Deep Brain AI, which is already developing hyper-realistic human-like and human-based avatars. And mainly they're doing this for customer service and news broadcasting. However, this could be implemented into medicine very soon. There's another company called Hereafter AI, which takes an interview of a person before they pass away and uses this to create an avatar that can be used to preserve family memories and help emotional connections and help with closure. Microsoft in 2021 had a patent called Chat with the Dead, which uses their total online presence, includes voice notes, any social media, any messages, even written messages, to create chatbots with very similar personality. So within the next 3 to 5 years, this could be used in combination with doctors, so a doctor could be assisted with an AI. And in the next 7 to 10 years, I think that doctors could be standing alone avatars without any human intervention. Thank you for your time. Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, first of all, I wanted to say that Dr. Van Manen did try to come, but he had something else at this time, so he wasn't able to. And so it's a very interesting presentation in a lot of ways. So let me raise some objections that others might raise that I think don't necessarily hold water. One is that the regulations would never allow this, right? Medical regulations, you can't practice medicine by avatars. But when AI is much smarter than humans, somehow or other, we know that there will be AI doctors. We don't know if they'll be like this or like something else, but they will be the superior doctor. The actual human doctors won't be as smart and clever and able to figure things out as these AI doctors will.
Yes.
So the idea that regulations would never allow it, I think what it means is that regulations will change. Another thing that I like about your presentation is it assumes doctors with a rebel spirit and sort of independent thinkers, right? If doctors were just like these herd of similar people, sort of like the Borg or something on Star Trek, sharing one mind, then none of this stuff would make sense, because when one leaves, there's some other one with identical, abilities who can just fill in, right?
Yeah.
But with the rebel doctor, the independent doctor idea, you have all these charismatic maverick doctors who sort of do their own thing. They fit within medicine, but are unlike anyone else, right? They are their own authentic brand, and you're allowing them to sort of continue forever, which I think is is really cool.
Yeah, because I think, so even if AI improved to a point where it just has access to all knowledge, there's a certain aspect of humans that it can kind of recreate, but it can never have completely, which is, I think, experiences. Although it can like know about an experience, it may not use that experience to shape its like personality, which humans do. Like let's say you had a traumatic event happen in your life that completely changes how you may act with a certain person, right? But AI might just consider that as like a factor, but not change its response based on that, depending on how it thinks it's important or not.
And do you think that these kind of AI avatars should get political?
I think that they shouldn't, because then let's say a person in their life had a certain point of view. Let's say they're conservative or liberal, just for example. Now this chatbot or this avatar is created by this company which has a certain belief. Now this person passed away, and now this avatar represents the opposite of what they would have believed, then that's disrespect to a person who's passed away, you know? So it should be kind of strictly limited to medical aspects.
So if, let's say, someone who's transgender comes in and the bot has zero bias towards that, do you think that that would be treated fairly?
Zero bias?
Yeah, zero bias. So basically, to treat a transgender person and to treat them as such requires a little bit of a liberal view.
Okay,
rather
yeah,
than,
I understand what you're saying.
or for example, like people have different skin colors. If we're talking about skin cancer or whatever,
Yeah,
like things
yeah.
like that. If let's say this robot was racist or sexist or
Yeah.
homophobic or whatever it may be.
I think that would have to be mostly in the hands of the consent the doctor gives before, like how they want to have control over what he's able to say or such. Because another thing is like empathy, for example. Let's say a doctor has a very like angry way of talking to people, right? But they have really good knowledge. Then does the company want to make an avatar which recreates that, or would they want to make like a softer version of that, right? So that just kind of depends on mostly the company and what the doctor is comfortable with allowing before they pass away.
So by avatar, you don't mean just the knowledge. You mean like like the entirety of
the personality
doctor,
as well.
Of
Yeah.
personality. Okay.
Yeah, that's like the main thing, because like for example, like Albert Einstein, right? Would you rather in a class learn about Albert Einstein, or would you rather him present it yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So you get that kind of authentic experience. So, yeah. Sorry.
Oh, did you?
No, go ahead.
I just want to like, I'm just processing your point you said earlier about AI not being able to like truly, I think I want to like rephrase in my head is not truly feel emotions, because what you were saying is if you're going through a traumatic experience, AI can't like change its result to that. But we've talked about reinforcement learning before.
Yeah.
And we understand like if a robot says, oh, this is a bad result, they're going to stop doing that. So technically they can, but it's not that they can emotionally feel those. They can still
I
change
think
the
you're 100%,
response.
yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to like reframe it a bit, so
Okay,
just so we align in that way.
Yeah, I really
So,
appreciate that. Thank you, yeah.
Yeah. So when it comes to preserving knowledge,
Yeah.
so I think doctors have like two major good aspects when it comes to practice. One is knowledge, one is critical thinking and skills. The most important thing is critical thinking and skills, which is open to adaptability and refreshing the knowledge, because knowledge becomes expired like in a couple of years, because like when it comes to even like diabetic medications and all, 20 years ago we used a set of medications and now it's totally outdated.
Yeah.
So preserving the knowledge is really a challenge, I guess. And also, what about the consent of that doctor? Like, so that doctor has to then consent. Okay, you can amend my knowledge, my medical knowledge. You have to amend it for future use. So it's going to turn upside down.
Yeah.
And all decisions made by that doctor previously 20 years ago, and now like in the future is going to be like drastically changed. So that's a challenge. Because I have seen that in like history, some doctors have said that drinking alcohol is good, like 1 glass of alcohol is good, but now the guidelines are saying 0. And even smoking, in the beginning they told that smoking is not good, and then they had even symposiums to say that smoking is okay, but then again smoking is bad. So like that, things change drastically within a couple of years. So I think preserving knowledge and using that knowledge in future and getting the consent to amend little bit challenges.
Yeah, I think one of the things that that I really like about the Microsoft patent is that how it uses like interviews and like kind of uses the entire presence of that person to kind of understand their personality. So imagine if you could you're trying to as hard as you can to resurrect the person, not their actual self, but their entity, right? So in that way, when you give them new knowledge, they would, in theory, right, adapt to it the same way they would as if they were to be taught something during their life. So that's the idea. Of course, that's like in practice very hard to replicate, but that's just the idea I can say.
Okay, thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this will be part of the video of
Sure.
today. If you want me to create a separate video of just you, that's also possible.
Sure, that would be nice.
Yeah, okay, I will also.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so what questions do you have about the midterm? Just 2 days away? So 5 of you are doing it in the room and 2 of you are doing it in the accommodation space, so, yeah. Yeah,
Are the questions more like reflective? Are they like the reflections, or are they more like long answer, multiple choice? Like, what are the types of questions that are on
okay, so most of them are short answer, multiple choice, and Shauna's part is chat GPT. You come up with a list of something and then you ask chat GPT to do the same thing, and then you compare the two and sort of reflect on the advantages of pros and cons of AI and so on. Yeah, and you may know that Shauna is doing a lot of high profile things right at the moment if you follow her activities. So Shauna is also the person determining when your midterm gets finally graded and when your grade is completed. But yeah, it'll happen. It's just and she's teaching here on the 25th. So yeah, to get some. We don't know what she's going to do. She's been busy enough that I don't know if she's doing the workshop or the immersive VR and AR and stuff. I don't know which one of those things she's going to do, but she will be here for that. Yeah.
Will it be like opening on Canvas and then we go on there? Like, is the midterm on there? Is it all written?
It's 4 different documents, and you have a choice, kind of. You can type the answers and then send them electronically, or you can write them. You'll have a physical copy of all 4. You probably will opt, like the ethics one that you send to Dr. Van Manen and me, and the Shauna one that you send to Shauna and me. You'll probably want to do that electronically. It's just easier than. Whereas the main part of the exam, which is short answer and multiple choice, you'll probably do by hand. There's a thing for your name and student ID, I think, at the top of every page. You don't have to fill out them all. The staple generally works, and I mean, there are only 7 of you, and you have sort of unique handwriting. So if the staple broke, we could still cope with it, stuff like that. Yeah.
So when we get to the exam room, does that mean that all the documents that we need are going to be emailed to us? Like, for example, like Shauna's part will be emailed to us, and then.
Yes, at 2 o'clock, I'm going to send an email to all 7 of you that has all 4 parts. But you'll also be in a room where either I or the people in the accommodation space are actually giving you the printed copy. You can decide which is more useful and so on, how you would like to do it.
How do we know about the room? Like, are you going to text us the room number?
You have it,
Yes, we got it on.
Yeah.
Today?
Not
No,
today.
a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, let me find.
I don't remember the number, but I think we have it.
Midterm. It's down the hall from here, I think.
It's 1-478.
So midterm exam, fall 2020, no, that's not it, okay. Yeah, I did send you the number and I'll send it again. Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, Echo 1478. So this is 1464. So it's just down the hall from here. The reason we can't do it in here is there was another class scheduled. So yeah, I think it's not any smaller than this. It's either the same size or bigger.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I have another question.
Yeah.
It's not exam related, it's presentation related.
Right.
It said that on the syllabus today is the due date for choosing our mentor and our topic. Do we just email you those?
Yeah.
And- Sorry, and what's the mentor supposed to do in this situation?
Whatever general help you think you might need, yeah. And some people readily accept being a mentor, others, resist. I can't predict what's going to happen. Like Dr. Cyan is very popular with students, so you won't be the only person asking him to do stuff, so yeah. No, you don't have to have a mentor, or I can be your mentor, or, whatever. And the other thing has to do with what order we're gonna do the presentations in. But I figured we need 3 days because there's 7 of you, and so it would be really unacceptably crowded, I think, to do it in 2 days. So probably do it in alphabetical order, and then if you want something different, we can negotiate. Some years, of course, what happens is we have 3 dates and everybody wants to go on the last date, right? So that also won't work. We can't do 7 people on the same day. So I would really prefer to break it up. So some of you can win whatever you want to call them, brownie points. In other words, that the teacher thinks more favorably of you by volunteering for the first of the presentation days, right? Because that sort of eases things up. But sometimes there's only one of that kind of student who's willing to do it the first day. So if that happened, it would be 1 student the first day and then 3 and 3, which I guess could possibly work, yeah.
I can volunteer to go the first day.
Yeah,
Okay.
me too.
Wow! Amazing, yeah.
Just to confirm, sorry, the presentation dates, would that be like the last 3 classes that we
Yes.
have? Okay.
No, the
Oh.
very last class is the one about the time capsule.
Yeah.
And that is not a face-to-face class, so that's going to be by Zoom with medical student Pram, yeah. As it says on schedule.
So our first presentation then would be next week, if I'm not
27th,
mistaken.
right?
27th.
27th.
Yes, yeah, the 27th is the first. Yeah.
So when's the final? The last
There isn't any final.
Oh,
There
there isn't?
is no final.
Really?
You didn't realize until now that there's no final, but there is no final. So when the course began, believe it or not, there weren't any exams at all. And that was a problem because in the Faculty of Science, they thought that this was not a rigorous course, if there weren't any exams at all. So things got a lot better for the students when we made the midterm. But you realize the midterm is only 20% of your grade. And if you really do badly on the midterm and do well on your presentation, we also look at how you're trending, right? If you show an upward trend, then we would discount your terrible performance on the midterm and put more weight on your spectacularly good presentation at the end. Yeah. So that's how it works, yes.
So just for the midterm on Thursday, there's gonna be like one question based off of each lecture, like they all send you like questions?
No, there'll be some lectures that don't have any questions, there'll be some questions. Yeah, but I think it will seem fair. And if you think it may not be interesting to you, the dynamic between me and Shauna, but like when Shauna's life isn't as full as it is now, she's a much bigger part of the exam. And so the way you behave then is that you come here and quickly do the rest of the exam and then spend all the rest of the time on Shauna's questions. But this time, because she's busy, she has relatively fewer questions. Yeah. So I have to see once she goes into space and is really an astronaut, whether she's able to teach it all or maybe she'll teach more. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Since it's an open book,
Yes.
there were some lectures that were online with no slides at all. Do we need to consider that lectures as well? Like, because there were professors who couldn't present.
So yeah, that's interesting too, right? If you think about the world from Dr. Zayan's point of view, when there were videos of his lecture, he looked so good on video that people all over the world wanted him to come and speak. And that may seem desirable to you, but it actually didn't work for him because it was like people who wanted him there for kind of superficial reasons, right? So that's the reason that presently we don't do videos of his lectures, but you have the slides, and so you are responsible for the content. Yeah.
Is there any class which was like there was no slides for it and it was only presented in like online? Or do you have slides for every single class?
Yeah, so the first AI lecture, which was simply a video, and not a new video, but sort of a canned video. So there aren't going to be any questions on that. It's just I asked that guy to speak. He wasn't able to, but he said, "Here, you can use my previous video." Yeah. So it doesn't seem fair to you to make you as rigorously responsible for that first lecture as the others. There is no sort of there are no tricks. A lot of courses it's all about the tricks, right? That like the professor's out to get you, out to embarrass you and, you know, trick you into getting a bad performance and that sort of thing. No, we're not doing that. I'm sort of on your side. I want you to do well in the course. Just like you want to do well in the course, I also want you to do well in the course. So there's nobody plotting against you, right? So any paranoia you may have about that, get rid of right now. There's no one plotting against you in this course. I won't guarantee that's true in other courses, right? Yeah.
Do you have any suggestions on like how to prepare for the midterm? The presenters going through the concept?
So the first day quiz is like an actual, it's like a biopsy of the midterm, right? It's you'll find similar questions to the first day quiz. So yeah, and the things I told you over and over, this is going to be on the midterm. Those things will be on the midterm. Yeah. So, yeah.
Do we have to choose our presentation topic today, or can we still can we send it later this week? Or is it like firm deadline? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah. So we're flexible about everything, but if you think about it, that works to your disadvantage. If you wait till 10 minutes before your presentation to decide what your title is going to be, then it won't be a very good presentation. You'll probably get the lowest grade of anyone here, right? So although you have the freedom to do that, although the schedule says you're supposed to tell me today, and you don't actually tell me until 10 minutes before you give the presentation, that would be okay with me, but it won't really work for you because it will be a sign that you're giving a really low quality presentation. Yeah. Any other questions about that? Yeah. Okay. It may interest you that this Friday at noon for nephrology grand rounds, I'm giving a presentation, sort of a combination of what I gave last time, plus what I gave at the beginning of this time, plus whatever bright ideas occur to me between now and then, almost as if I was using presentations to you as practice for this nephrology grand rounds. But on the other hand, they would require more kidney medicine specific stuff, whereas you guys don't need very much kidney medicine specific stuff. Yeah, so that's the deal there.
That's this Friday?
Yes, this Friday the 21st, the day after your midterm. Yes.
Is this going to be in person?
Yes, it's in classroom D. It's open to the public, so you can come. And there's food. And there's whatever kind of, if there's some strange kind of food that none of the rest of us know how strange your food is, they still have food for you. They have vegan food and vegetarian food. And, yeah, all kinds of, yeah.
What time is the talk at?
Noon.
Noon.
It's at noon, the time when you're most likely to be hungry. Yeah.
One last question about the presentation. I know we should obviously ask for approval from, like give our potential mentor a heads up, but should we wait for their approval, or do they expect that there's going to be students working with them on the presentation?
Well, they all know about this idea
Yeah.
of the mentor. For some of them, it may have been years, or maybe nobody ever asked them before. Because there are many people who have taught in this course. You have people your own age who became TAs and then gave lectures as TAs. So when you ask me whether your mentor can be a TA, yes, but your mentor can also be a TA who never lectured if you want, because there are a lot of TAs like that. And there were many years when we had many more TAs than students. So like during COVID, we'd have times like 7 or 8 TAs and 2 or 3 students. Yeah, it was kind of sad, but that was the way COVID affected us. So, yeah. Okay, so I wish you well, and I've already sent the exam to the accommodation proctor people. Yeah, so they have it. They seem happy with my performance. Say that the exam is both grading you guys, but also I'm sure they give me some sort of grade. There are really more rules for the professor than there are for the student with the proctor. Okay, thank you.